Salama, my name is Kristian Fanene Schmidt, or Crit for short. My pronouns are he, him, and it brings me great pleasure to welcome everyone to the Rotten Tomatoes Lab Critics Edition. This is the latest installment in an ongoing series of panels, virtual and in person, where we give you advice and career development for aspiring critics. Breaking into this industry is tough, and so Rotten Tomatoes is really invested in making sure y'all got all the support you can get by bringing in experts in the field who can really answer some questions about what you might have in your head. So if you ever want to check out this chat or any of our other chats, make sure you head to our website and you click on critics and then resources. All right, so without further ado, I really want to introduce our panel. We're going to talk to you about what makes a great interview, what to do to write a great pitch and all this other good stuff. So I'm going to start off with Cooper Andrews, who is an actor who you might know from The Walking Dead and Shazam. We have Dino-Ray Ramos, who's a journalist and founder of DIASPORA. We also have Shelli Nicole, who's a cultural editor and writer for outlets like Vogue, Architectural Digest, and Thrillist. And we also have Diane Nguyen, who is the director of the AAPI division at The Market. So welcome, everyone. It's great to have you all.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. I really want to start with Cooper, because I think your perspective is so interesting and important. It can really help frame so much of this discussion. Because coming into this chat, you told me that you stopped doing press a while ago, right? Because you're just over it. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, my managers, they were like, hey, so what do you want to do for interviews? And I was like, no more. I'm kind of done. My biggest thing is the genuineness of a question or the person asking it. So I never really had an issue with what we talk about. I can talk about anything, but I had this thing where if I feel like the person doesn't actually care about the questions they're asking, I have a really hard time answering them. And it also felt frustrating because a lot of what you would say would get taken out of context, and it was really aggravating to sort of see how something I would say would get switched around, and I just remember thinking, it's like, you looked bored when you're asking me questions, and now it seems like you were bored, considering that's not at all the context of what I was saying. So I'm actually really interested to hear everyone's perspective on this, because I know these questions are hard, and I know that it's hard to keep up with so much of what's going on in our industry. But I just tried to avoid any kind of avoid interviews in general because of that.
Just to follow up with that, are these sentiments that are shared by a lot of your peers, or was it more just a you thing and you're like, no, that ain't it?
I feel like it's more of a me thing. My peers, they definitely get it and they understand that, but they're also like, yeah, but that's just part of the industry. We answer the questions. We just, if they have a canned question, we'll give them a canned answer. And I have a hard time just playing that game. I'm like, then why are we talking? What is the point of a conversation? What are people really getting to know about me?
Right, because it is a game, right? And we'll talk more about that later on. But I really want to jump to Dino and Shelli as people who do a lot of junkets and interviews. Can you talk about a bit about some of the pressures that Cooper alluded to, as far as coming up with questions and making sure you get content and just the dynamics of how that affects everything going into it?
Yeah, for sure. So for me, that was something when I first started out doing interviews, because I was so used to doing just profiles and personal narratives and reviews and stuff like that. It was always, I would freak myself out about asking the question, like the cool question, the one that out of all the journalists that they've interviewed had interviews with, like mine was just something they had never heard of. It was always so much pressure to get them to say, oh, that's something that's never been asked before. And a lot of the times that would really screw me up, because then I would lose the personal aspect of it, like you were talking about. Then it's just like, I'm just trying to get content. And there's a fine line between trying to get content, yes, because that is what you're there to do, but also making that like personal connection with someone that you're only going to have for a few minutes. So once I stopped sort of like psyching myself out about asking the question, I would go into the interview being like, I've done my research on who this person is, and I have like even this sliver of a personal connection about something with them or with the film, that's going to be my like big to-do question, right? It may not be exactly what to do with the film or any of that kind of stuff, but it's going to make our time and my piece a whole lot fuller, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that totally. It's like when I first started long time ago, is like I was like, oh, I want to have them say, oh, I've never been asked that before. And I'm like, I was like, oh, that means I succeeded. But also is like, it also depends on the interview you're doing and what you want from this interview. You know, it's just like, I think my approach to an interview is totally different from, you know, Shelli's approach, from also from the publication you're working for and what, you know, what you're doing. And also, what kind of interview is it? Is it a roundtable interview? Is it a one-on-one? Is it like a 2-minute junket interview where you have to sit in a hot seat and get something from the talent on camera in like 2 minutes? There's like so many of these kind of things that you have to do. And like getting, I think getting the interview is one of the pressures in general. Getting it scheduled is you know, pressure, you know, trying to do that. And then once you get into the interview chair, it's interesting because like you're trying to do so much in like the allotted time that you have to create a story or something that reflects you as a journalist and also the project that you're writing about in the most respectful way as possible. So interviews are not just, to me at least, just a like content, as Shelli said. I want people to learn from it, or like, I'm talking to this person for a reason, like Cooper said. I want to help tell their story and why they did this. It's like less about getting like a hot take and more about, hey, this person is a human and they're doing something pretty dope. So let's like talk about it. That kind of thing. That's how I approach it.